Dr. Abhiraja Singh will be talking on emergency preparedness and safe disposal of radiation waste. Dr. Abhiraja Singh, all of you know, is one of the organizers here, and he is a colleague of mine and associate professor in radiological physics. Dr. Abhi, please.
Good afternoon once again. Thank you, Chairman. And I thank the organizers for giving this opportunity to give a talk on emergency preparedness and safe disposal of radioactive waste. You know, all events under the sun are having risk. And this accident can be preventable, but it cannot be completely eliminated. Sometimes, not all accidents are not bad event. Sometimes it is good for that. For example, by accident, the X-ray has been discovered. By accident, the activity concept has been discovered. So, sometimes accidents also good. But in radiation accident, it's not always it is not good. So, it has to be prevented. So, anytime, what is accident? That event which is happening unexpectedly. So, we need to be prepared. Second thing, I will be presenting on, giving talk on safe disposal. That is the second aspect of my presentation. Safe disposal of radioactive waste. Why we need to safely dispose the radioactive waste? Because it is not safe. If you are not safely dispose the radioactive waste, you will not be safe. Outline of my presentations: radiation emergency, emergency preparedness, radioactive waste management. Now, just to encourage you, to give you the advantage of attending this type of conference, let me quote one verse from Bible. Proverbs 24:20 says, "And in multitude of counselors there is safety." We have a lot of DSA, Department Safety Advisors. I request our Associate Director to change the name also. Sorry, not necessarily. Department Safety Counselors would be very appropriate. What is the difference between counselors and advisors? Not always all the advisors will be good, right? But counselors, it comes from their experience. So, we all as a counselors coming here to hear the deliberations made by many experts, and also we also have our own experience. So this get together will definitely bring the safe useful of radioactive source also. That is one of the aspects. Now, what is radiation emergency? As I said, every event there is an emergency. The situation could result in higher or very potential radiation dose to the three type of people. There is one personal occupational worker, and patients, and the public large. Now, there are two categories of emergency. One is the emergency arising from external beam exposure. That means source is outside, we are standing near to the source or far away. Second thing, that emergency is arising by the contaminants that may be inhaled or ingested into our system, or through the injuries it get into the system. For example, when handling iodine-131, preparing the iodine-131 nuclear medicine, suppose some injury is happening, so it may be injected and get into the system. And you know, you all know technetium 99 means a aerosol, and when it is handled outside the negative environment like glove box, that is, then that may go into our respiratory system and produce a lot of effects. So these are the two aspects of categories of radiation emergency. Why I am giving this picture here? One is Fukushima disaster. This is actually introduced, arised by the natural disaster which cannot be prevented, because it might have been sent by Satan, I don't know, or God. So there is a controversial point. Sometimes, you know, like a father, God chasten us. Sometimes devil also giving problem. This is the problem we have. Why the cancer comes, why the disease comes. This is a controversial state, the debatable subject. But here, this Fukushima disaster cannot be prevented, because, you know, unexpectedly, the natural calamity, that is the earthquake triggered tsunami, finally it hit the Fukushima, and the generator was off, the melting down. That is the picture you are seeing. Another one, Chernobyl disaster. It can be it could have been 100% preventable, because the Chernobyl disaster happened in 1986 in the old old USSR. You know, because of the fault at the technical things, due to the technologies, untrained people was the cause for the thing. So, the radiation accidents in radiotherapy, I have diluted my talk rapidly, and also my talk is very contained one, because this is a vast area. I'm only limiting to the radiotherapy and nuclear medicine, which are the departments in hospital. Radiation accidents in radiotherapy can be divided into two categories. One is the events related to equipments, which leads to affects many patients. For example, if the machine is at fault or the wrong calculation, it may lead to maybe it may affect many patients who are getting treatment through the machines and all these things. Second thing, it is related to the individual patient, and that will affect only one patient. Now, emergency in beam therapy, the major one is sometime when the source is on, this is a machine which is used for external beam therapy, the source got stuck. In that time, you know, the patient get more dose. That this type of emergency can be divided, which is depending upon the type of the source movement mechanism. That means, you know, here in this type of machine, the source are driven by the pneumatic system. If a pneumatic system fails, compressor pressure is insufficient, then the source cannot be pushed back to the safe. It will be on condition, so patient will get more radiation. And what will be the procedure for the emergency? Action, first you have to remove the patient. If the patient is bedridden, through the intercom, we can communicate the patient and ask the patient to come out. And try to press the button like piano playing. Sometimes it works out. You know, most of the computer will be set right when we reset. That's what I do as a novice to the computer. So, now attempt, if you fail, inform radiation safety officer and service personnel for servicing. If you are successful, again you inform radiation safety officer and seal the room. Then estimate the dose received by the patient. That is very important for the further treatment, and document this. That is very important. This picture shows one of our very highly skilled person. He is an electrician. When the source is on, he is trying to push the source back, because in the right side, the picture you see, when the source is on, the rod is protruding out. That is the indication of source on position. You know that as you know, radiation is invisible. It cannot be felt by touching or hearing and all these things. There are so many mechanisms, optically and mechanically and electrically, so many systems are there that will indicate the source is on or off. For example, red light glows, there is a radiation is on. If green glows, radiation is off. These lights are mounted at the door, which is closed, and it is also mounted on the control panel, which is outside the room. So, the left side you see the rod. One is for pushing the source, and it is painted into two colors. One is yellow. When you push it inside, if yellow is completely disappeared, the source is in intermediate state, not fully gone. If red is completely disappeared, it is fully gone. So, the rod should be kept outside. That is very, very important. You know, the location is important. Some centers they kept inside. And if radiation emergency comes, they will go there. It is just like, yeah, terrorist comes with a gun. You are going and begging, you give me a gun and I will shoot it, like this. So that cannot be working out. See, another type of the system here, it is a drum type. The drum rotates by the wheel and the motor. Sometimes the wheel, because of the temperature rising, it will fail. So when it happens, we need to go the front side and rotate the probe to put it back. Another emergency arises in the remote afterloading system, which is used in brachytherapy. Here, you know, one source which is kept in the safe position, and it runs through the different transfer tube, and the other end of the transfer tube is connected to the applicators in the patient. Now, sometime if the transfer tube is not in good condition, the source got stuck. In that situation, what to do? I will show you 3-minute video clip to demonstrate how we can take the action during this emergency arising in HDR.
After the door is closed and the treatment is started, the treatment status indicator will show an orange light to indicate that the pulse has begun. The radiation symbol will light up as soon as the check cable run is finished and the source leaves the safe, indicating that there is radiation. In the rare event of an error, the red light on the treatment status indicator will start flashing, indicating possible radiation. In this case, verify on the radiation indicator if there is any radiation in the room. Press the emergency stop button on the wall box or on the treatment control panel. Proceed to step 2 if the source does not retract and the radiation light does not switch off. Step 2. Using the hand crank. Quickly enter the room and do not forget to take with you the survey meter. Lift the access panel on top of the treatment unit to access the golden hand crank. Turn the hand crank clockwise until it blocks. Verify on the treatment unit display that the green InSafe light switches on and the yellow radiation light is off. In case the source has not retracted, proceed to step 3. Step 3. Removing the applicator. If manual retraction fails, you must check the patient for radiation. Upon confirming that the radiation is contained within the applicator, proceed to remove the applicator from the patient. Open the lid of the emergency container. If possible, use a long forceps to insert the applicator, including the source, into the container. Leave the radiation tag hanging outside the container, thus indicating that it contains radioactive material. Step 4. Sealing the treatment room. Immediately assist the patient in leaving the room. Lock the door and mark it with a no entry sign. Next, inform your clinic's radiation safety officer. Please also notify Nucleatron. In summary, know when to declare an emergency situation. Use a survey meter at all times. Maintain a closed system. Secure the radioactive source. Notify the radiation safety officer and Nucleatron.
That is the emergency preparedness procedure related to high-dose rate brachytherapy. Now, emergencies in nuclear medicine. What are the sources we are using in nuclear medicine? Most of them are unsealed sources and in liquid form. Most of them are short-lived, and some of them are long-lived. And except some sources which are used for calibration are sealed one. And what are the accidents, the emergency preparedness due to the accident involving radioactive aerosols? Ensure that the other persons vacate the room. Immediately we have to vacate other people to, all other people should be vacated. Then hold the breath and turn off every circulating device like fans and hoods which are possible. Then vacate the room as soon as possible. Notify RSO immediately. Then make sure all the doors are closed. If necessary, post the guard. And don't allow anybody till the RSO comes. Now, there will be a spillage also may arise due to the, the preparation of iodine and all these things. What are the procedure? Notify people in the area the spill has occurred. Contain the spill, that we need to reduce the area of the contamination and concentrate in a small area, and using absorbent decontaminate and put it in the container for the delay and for disposal. Survey the area. We need to survey the area, how much contamination, whether any residual contamination also there, finally report. If it's a major, only one step is different from the minor. Here, we need to ask everybody to be vacated. Then, if there is a fire, now what? First we need to alarm the fire alarm, then notify the fire safety and all the rescue team, and put a signage clearly so that that people can leave to the area without any problem and know the type of the emergency also. And very importantly, we need to move the patient to the assembly point where all the other people also there. Then this patient has to be moved to the area. If you have a CT room or other area, that can be used. Otherwise, if you have a bunkers, you can use that also. Second part, radioactive waste. What is radioactive? They are contaminants or the material which has high radioactivity, which is more than the level of the clearance from the regulatory requirements, which pose potential harm to human and environment. Now, there will be a radiation hazard from the abundant source. We heard about the abundant source from the, the Mayapuri, in the Mayapuri market also, that actually made, give a lot of exposure to the public also. And that is actually the source actually abundant from the gamma cell, which was used by the Delhi University in 1968 they bought. And it was abundant because there was no safety officer. Then one person was died on that day also. Then radioactive waste from radiotherapy. Most of them are sealed sources from telecobalt and brachytherapy. That has to be disposed, and there are certain procedures to be followed. Nowadays, many centers are going for LINAC. This is not a big problem. Let me concentrate only the waste disposal on the HDR. Currently, many centers are getting HDR, which uses iridium, which is being disposed every 5 months. So this has to be sent by the same package which are used for sending to the institution, and appropriate label has to be put. This is one of the example, and we need to get the DGCA approval if it is has to be exported also. What are the radioactive waste in nuclear medicine? Some of them are solid, which are covering papers, gloves, empty vials, etc., etc., and some of them liquid waste. And liquid waste means the patient excreta and liquid scintillation solution, and finally gases. Then the excreta, if it is excreta from the diagnosed patient, we need not to worry about. If it is therapy, that has to be collected and delay, keep it, and for the further decay. If the patient is dead, all the procedure has to be followed. The event of death, we need to carefully handle the patients, and the burial should be done under the guidance of the competent authority. All who are involved in the process should be monitored, and all the clots and the documents that is in contact with the disease should be checked. If the patient is contaminated one, then it has to be wrapped with waterproof material to prevent further contamination spread out. Embalming should be avoided. Autopsy can be done with a minimum thing. Then there are principles. One is concentrate and contain. This is one of the principles to waste in the waste management. We can concentrate everything and contain in the small vials and put it for a safe disposal. Second thing, if more radioactivity in the solution, concentrate and dilute it and delay and decay. Another one, delay and decay. Collect the all the excreta in the tank, which is called delay tank, then send it later on till when the levels comes which is acceptable for the public. This picture shows the delay tank. The right side, that the pipe which is taking the excreta from the iodine room to the delay tank. This picture shows the radioactive waste storage rooms, and these are the storage containers. And what are the levels for the safe disposal? If it is a solid waste and the low activity, if the content is in becquerel level, we can dispose it. And high activity, it is 3.7, round burial 37, iodine 1, if it is a patient postmortem, 10 becquerel is the activity that can be allowed. Burial for cremation 400 MBA. For delay tank, if it is a technetium 99 M, 185 megabecquerel per cubic meter is the allowed one. For iodine 131, it is 22.2. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rabi, for your excellent talk.